you kind of expect some ridiculously heavy, angry bangers. They're all human emotions at the end of the day, and like we, for the most part, we do tackle some fairly difficult subjects through the lyrics.
Welcome everyone to a wonderful fucking episode today. Huxley, I don't think that, we need to introduce ourselves, but we have a wonderful guest here. My number one pick from bands to watch out for this year. The one, the only, Overthrone. Guys, if y'all would, thank you, first of all, for joining us for this. I have fangirled over this for a long time. So I was very happy to, as soon as I messaged you guys and y'all messaged back, I was like, no way this is fucking happening. But I'm glad that y'all are here. If y'all would take some time to introduce yourselves to our audience and tell them what you do and what you do in the band.
Yeah, cool. I'll go first because I know Luke's not very good at that. So I play bass and clean singing in the band. Luke, what do you do?
I'm Luke, and I do screaming.
And very well, both of you. Myriad.
Oh, yes. Very, very well. So, Huxley, since they are from your homeland, I'll let you go ahead and get the ball rolling here.
This is the first time for the podcast that you've been outnumbered, and I'm secretly enjoying all of it, to be quite honest with you. You guys are our second guests that we've had. We had a guy called Cody from a band called American Overdose that, again, Keith found. And, the just listening to the band and obviously like the numbers that were on Spotify, we just love the fact that, we just like to try and help where we can, really, for sort of lesser known bands to try and spread the word. So, yeah, it was literally an ideal situation to get you guys on. So, so just to kick things off, really, what's the story of Overthrown? I think that's what we'd like to know.
Yeah. Luke, do you want to take this one, or is it best if I take this one?
Best if you take this one, because I joined a little bit later. Overthrown was already a band before I joined.
Okay. Yeah, we started kind of from the ashes of a project that Luke, the other Luke, our guitar player, and a few other guys tried to get going with Rob, who was our old guitar player as well. I think I joined that project to play originally like keyboard samples and do a bit of clean singing, just because they wanted a clean singer and they already had a bass player and a drummer and everything else. And I was like, well, I'll just throw some samples in or something.
Yeah.
And I think in about 6 months we did 2 rehearsals, and it just nothing ever came of it. So that kind of all fell to pieces pretty quickly. And then Luke, Rob, and myself were like, well, the three of us seem to be able to kind of get together most of the time and have a bit of a drive to get something going. So we kind of recruited a friend of ours, Josh, who was in a band with Luke previously, to come in and play drums. And then we kind of went on the hunt for a screaming vocalist, because none of us could do it. Which we did, and I think about 3 months later, we recruited Jimmy, who was our original vocalist, and went in the studio that year, kind of bashed out an album pretty quickly, pretty raw,
Yeah.
If we could go back and do it again, we probably would, but here we are. We did a few shows, bit of touring as that outfit, and then it was during sort of COVID lockdown time. Jimmy had started another project and kind of said to us, look, guys, I'm going to spend more time on this other project, and sort of a bit out of the blue, to be honest, but he left the band and we were like, okay, we need a vocalist now. And it was actually on a Facebook group where Luke had posted some videos of him doing some covers throughout lockdown. It's just him in his room screaming. And I was like, yeah, he's got it. Like, this is the kind of guy that we need. And so I messaged Luke one day. I was like, two questions: are you in a band, and do you want to be in a band? And the answers were no and yes, basically. And then
that's great.
So actually, the first time we met Luke was when we went into the studio to record the album, The Path of Destruction. So we kind of chatted online. We'd sent songs and demos and stuff back to each other, but we'd never actually met in person until we got in the studio to record those vocals, record that entire album, really. So, and the rest is history, really.
Yeah. Luke, I have to immediately ask, how on earth was it meeting everyone for the first time, but in the studio there to record an album?
Yeah, it was a bit weird, but at the same time, because we'd been talking for so long and we'd been like sending each other voice notes and stuff, it felt like we'd known each other for ages by the time we ended up meeting. So yeah, it felt pretty natural.
Yeah, not too daunting. That's good. That's an awesome story.
For me, it says that y'all released quite a few singles between, Path of Destruction and y'all's first album that y'all did. Did y'all plan? Was that because of lockdown, or was that just because y'all wanted to release singles and not just an album? What was the process there?
It kind of comes down to a few things. Lockdown definitely had an impact. Obviously, losing our vocalist during that time had an impact, and also because we were all really shitty at planning. So, like, I think being, guys that are, full-time in jobs, DIY band with lives and partners and families, kids, all that sort of stuff. With the best will in the world, we'll come up with like great plans for things that we want to do as a band, and then a month will go by and we'll realise we haven't done any of it because we've all just been so busy with life. So that's definitely a factor that gets in the way a lot of the time. We had an album of material written and demoed, pre-produced, ready to go and record in, I think, the November of 2020 with our original vocalist. And that would have kind of concluded some of the singles between the first album and kind of that time. So I think Ghosts, Floodlights, Emissions that we released, those tracks would have ended up on an album with maybe 8 or 9 more songs or whatever. And then obviously with Jimmy leaving the band, that kind of all got put to bed until we eventually found Luke. And by that time, we sort of thought, well, it's been long enough since we released those songs. We'll just forget about those. They can be separate singles. And we'll start again with Luke with fresh material. We kept some of those songs that we'd written before Luke joined the band. And like Luke put his own spin on some of the vocal parts that we wanted to keep. Some of them he completely rewrote and just scrapped all the lyrics that were there. And then some of it we just binned entirely and just came up with, completely new songs. And again, so from there we sort of came out of The Path of Destruction, or came out with that album as a kind of fresh start. The Path of Destruction actually was the first track that Luke wrote the vocals for. So the first demo.
Okay. Definitely want to be talking about that song today.
Yeah, so he kind of sent that over to us when we were in the early stages of talking about him, potentially joining the band, almost as an audition track. Within, I think, a day or two of us sending it to him.
Yeah, the next day, yeah.
The next day, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've written the lyrics and I've recorded a demo," and sent it over. Yep, that'll do. So it was a pretty easy decision. He made it very easy for us. And yeah, the same things happened really since that album. We've recorded songs, we put out quite a lot of singles over the last couple of years, and had every intention to do it in a different way, but life just gets in the way. So it's kind of just been like, we'll just drop these singles as and when we get a chance to do it, or can afford to do all the stuff between us that you need to do to support a release, and then kind of figure it out as we go. So we're without giving too much away, we're hoping to, for the next big release, be a little bit more thoughtful in the planning process, I think, for that.
Yeah, because it says here that y'all have y'all just released Tyrant. By the way, great song, wonderful song.
Thanks.
Is this going to be like, are y'all just going to release singles, or is this going to be like a new album coming out? Are we getting spoilers here, or what? Because it seems that y'all do have like a few singles that y'all have had out. Like Desolation, Search for Solace. Shaded Gray, When the Lights Go Out Inside. Are these going to be like on an album, or are these going to be like separate again, like they were for the other ones?
The tracks that you've named there, apart from When the Light Goes Out Inside, which is actually a different band song that Luke features on, which is why it pops up on our profile. But yeah, those other tracks with Tyrants, we recorded those all at the same time, going back to when, 2022, 2023?
Yeah, it was about 3 years ago, yeah.
And again, like, with everything going on, so like last year, Rowan, our drummer, got married. I started a new job. We just had a lot of stuff going on last year. So all these plans that we had to kind of wrap those songs up into an album and write more and get in the studio and record more just didn't happen because, again, DIY band with full-time lives and things getting in the way. So I think we've kind of settled on a plan for those songs and a couple of others that are currently unreleased from that recording session, that we'll probably wrap those up into, and maybe this is a bit of a spoiler or an exclusive, but we'll probably wrap those up into an EP once we release the other tracks, and then focus on completely new music from there.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that plan's like changed 10 times in the last 6 months. It's like trying to come up with the best version of how to release these songs. It's just impossible to know what to do for the best.
So there are a few songs I do want to talk about. I think it was it you that released an acoustic version of Better Man that was just released on the 28th, and it says that you lost your father due to cancer, correct?
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so it was funny that that came out that day, because that was the same day that I lost my father as well, the January 28th, but mine was 10 years ago. A little bit of a circumstance, but that song really hit a chord with me, and it feels like the lyrics point towards like forgiving yourself for what you couldn't have done, or it feels like it's a redemption song or you trying to be a better person going forward. What was the process after losing your dad and writing this song? What was your process of like continuing to make those kinds of songs? Like, what does it mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a tough one, that, because obviously the opening line to that lyric is, I've struggled with these words for more than 13 years, which is exactly the truth. So like, I'd tried to write songs and get some of those feelings out, like over the years, obviously kind of like dealing with that loss and that grief, and either wrote a couple of lines and didn't like anything else that I did, or didn't like what I'd written and just kind of scrapped it all. And then I think just one night randomly, when we were working on some demos and stuff for that album, I just wrote that entire song, all the lyrics, in one hit. And it just kind of like, I don't know where it came from or how or why. But yeah, it kind of just happened that way. And like that's the only Overthrown song that I think that I've written all of lyrically. Everything else, like especially the newer stuff, it's either all Luke or mostly Luke, and then we'll work together on some of like the chorus parts where there's clean singing and kind of throwing a few elements in there. Yeah, that's the only one where I kind of just wrote this song, put it out there, and sent it to the guys. And like, I don't know where this came from, but here's a song.
I actually do love that, because a lot of people will claim like all the songwriting goes to mainly one person, when I guess the ideas come from everyone and not just one person. Because what helps a band grow, to me, I think, is that say, hey, I wrote this song. It's like, hey, I have some criticisms here or constructive stuff that can happen, to be able to set those aside and be like, okay, I think we can improve this song. When it comes to like, say, Luke is the one that mainly writes the songs, how do y'all guys go about doing that kind of criticisms? Is there anything that y'all have not agreed on, or songs that y'all have changed a lot, or where like, say, Luke wrote a song and it was like 50% of it's changed because of insight from others? Is there anything that was like that?
Yeah, there's normally a lot of back and forth between us, isn't there? It'll be the guitarist, also called Luke. It might be a bit confusing, but yeah, he'll write the instrumental.
Makes it easier.
Rowan, the drummer, will put drums over it, and then I'll just sort of go about writing the lyrics, and then yeah, I mean, sometimes there's feedback, and it could be little things like, oh, I think it should come in here rather than here, or I think it should have this sort of melody. And yeah, we normally come to some sort of compromise.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
I think one of the biggest things I've noticed. So Rowan, who's our drummer, who joined the band in 22, was it 22? Like our writing process before then, as Luke mentioned, the other Luke will kind of write guitar parts, and he'll normally demo them with drums or a structure of how he's hearing the drums, and kind of send that to us as a full song, or section of a song. And because the drums are already kind of there, Rowan, obviously being the drummer, wants to kind of come up with his own parts, put his own spin on it. And I think the thing that kind of gets stuck in your head when you're working in that way is like, you've gotten used to hearing the drums in that way, like half time here, or a blast beat here, or whatever. And then when that gets changed, it's very hard to hold on to that as being the better choice, because you're so used to the other choice. And that's, for a few of us at times, that's caused us to be like, oh, I really don't know. And they're like, I understand you want to put your spin on the drums, but I've gotten so used to hearing it that way that this just seems wrong now. And there is no right or wrong. It's just something to kind of like come to terms with. So I think we've all sort of had to get used to hearing an idea, sitting with it, living with it for a few days, go back to it a couple of days later, and kind of compare them, give them equal opportunity, rather than just being like, no, I don't like that because I'm used to how it was before. So I think we've all had to kind of learn to work in that way a little bit. And then in terms
Huxley
of
being a drummer does that too. I bet you've gone through that yourself with your band.
I just thought all drummers thought and knew that they were right at all times. I think that's a problem.
Probably just know that we've got 3 drummers in the band as well.
God.
So
Oh my God.
both drummers
are also drummers as well.
Really? Oh my God.
Yeah, it's funny because like y'all label, because it's funny because I think it's the you're the bass player, right?
Yeah.
You're the bass player, and then you do clean vocals and being a bass player, which is actually pretty cool, because that's very few do I hear a band where a bass player is like one of the main singers of a band. And I find that very interesting. Are there any other instruments that y'all guys play, or just like, because you said 3 of y'all are drummers basically, but is there any other instruments that aren't in the band that y'all guys can play?
I play like a bit of acoustic guitar and electric guitar. Not well. And obviously the keyboard there. I dabble on the keyboard a bit, but yeah, nothing too fancy that doesn't make it into the music. I don't know about Luke. I only know Luke plays drums.
Yeah, for me, just drums, and then last year I started playing piano. I'm terrible, but
hey, you're practicing though.
Yeah, I'll get there.
So there's so I want to get to Search for Solace, because I think that this is probably one of y'all's best written songs that y'all have. I really appreciate like the wording that y'all have. And was it Luke that wrote this song? It was you, right?
Yeah.
So my question to you, because this was my number 1 pick song for you guys whenever we did our episode, and this is a song that I cannot get out of my head. Where did you get the idea for this one? Was it more of like you were searching for peace, or what was the idea behind this song?
So it was more just in the moment. So when I'm writing lyrics, I'll listen to the instrumental of what Luke sends me, and then I'll just sort of see what flows out and what feels right in that moment. And then after I've written it, I'll sort of be like, okay, so this is what this song is about. But yeah, I guess to me, it's like I try and write from in how I felt in the past, how I feel presently, or how other people could feel. So that's how I try and write. But this one was more how I felt in the past, and
gotcha. Not really for now.
Well, when I felt like I needed to do better for myself, I just wasn't.
That's
sure
kind of what I was
to
getting for it too, because I think I said it in our episodes. Like, I'm searching for that piece. I'm searching for something that I can like have that second chance with. This is my search for solace. And another thing I do like about this song and is the artwork. Y'all kind of tell me about some of this artwork that y'all have for your albums. Some of these artworks are just absolutely unbelievable, and I absolutely love them. Tell me some of the inspirations y'all get for y'all's artwork for your albums.
So again, going back to the fact that this was supposed to be an EP or something, we had started to put a bit of a theme together based on, you see that red planet or that red moon? That appears in pretty much everything that we've released since then in some form.
Really?
Yeah, and it's kind of a bit of an Easter egg in some of them. It's not as obvious as in that one.
I'm gonna have to keep track of that now. Thanks for that info. I'll keep track of that.
But yeah, so the idea was basically that the album or EP or whatever it ended up being was going to be based on this. I think we were looking at maybe, I don't know if I should say what we were looking at calling it yet, because that might be a spoiler as well. But
we don't mind spoilers here.
But yeah, so like in the video for Search for Solace, we actually the guy that shot the video for us, Murray, he kind of got a big polystyrene ball and like molded it into the shape of this red planet, and that's actually featured in the video.
Cool.
And that polystyrene planet currently lives in my friend's garage. So yeah, we were going to use that more and kind of theme it around that. So everything's kind of been made with that in mind. So like Tyrants, for example, the most recent one. Obviously, it's all just kind of like that red color scheme for that. So that's a bit more of like a close up of the surface of that planet in a sense, kind of in a paint style.
And Desolation, you even have like that kind of red aura as well to that one as well.
It's in there as well. And then I think in the shaded grey, obviously it's very different to shaded grey artwork, but there is like a little kind of planet outline at the bottom. So
I see that. It's really cool, man. Like, so who does the artwork? Just you guys, or do y'all outsource that?
For this one, it was for everything was from Search for Solace onwards has been me with the help of AI. Because
wow.
Speaking of Huxley, he loves his AI.
Yeah, it's it's a tough one. Like we actually had a conversation very recently about it, and like it's not something that we want to use too much of going forward. Like we don't just want to take we don't want to just take an AI piece of artwork and put it out without doing anything to it ourselves. So I've kind of like lent on it a bit to help me put more complex designs together. I'm not a designer by any stretch. I kind of have a go here and there, but we've talked about like for future releases, we actually want to really commission our artwork. Rob, who was our second guitar player previously when we were a 5-piece band, he's a tattoo artist as well, and just a really good artist generally. So he did a lot of the artwork. So if you've seen the kind of painted style artwork for like ghosts and floodlights, those are all original, done by Rob. And the album cover as well, the Path of Destruction was that demon figure or something that Rob came up with as well. So I think we'll probably look really shift more towards kind of like commissioning someone in future to create that kind of art. I just have these ideas and throw it into like Mid-Journey or whatever for to kind of like throw it out as a design and kind of go, yeah, I can work with that and I can make something better out of that, hopefully. So,
and was this like planet an idea that you'd had, or was that just like something that came up and you were like, oh, that's pretty cool, and I might just kind of steal that for future?
I genuinely can't remember where it came from. I remember I had the idea for the planet and the girl and like the waves in some format, whether originally the planet was going to be under the water or something. I can't really remember. It's going back a while now, and who knows what my thought process was at the time. But yeah, it was one of many sort of designs that it spat out, and I was like, okay, I like elements of that. I can steal bits and tweak things, and kind of we had this idea to kind of focus around that red planet for whatever reason. Who knows?
Oh, it's working. It looks great.
Yeah, it is working. I would
Really
love
good.
to see like the development of like, because you said you got this red planet right here, and then you said it plays into like all your artworks. It would be cool to see like the development of this planet like through your albums. I think that would be really cool, because it seems like a lot of bands do that this way. Like we just talked about like a Beartooth kind of did that with their titles of their albums with something from Below the Surface or something like that. Y'all guys have like this kind of artsy theme to it, and I would love to see the development of this. You guys are doing fucking fantastic right now.
Thanks. One of the
go ahead. No, go ahead.
One of the things I thought was really cool when we put out the Path of Destruction. If you've seen the album artwork for that, there's that demon, and there's like a symbol so now all of those do relate to something, but we've never officially said what. When we put that album out, I saw a few people on like Reddit threads kind of trying to decipher what these symbols were, and I thought that was really cool. Like, you know, we still consider ourselves a very small DIY band, so to see people actually taking an interest in going, oh, you know, can anyone figure out what any of these mean? And
I can kind of figure out where some of them are, but like not a lot of it. Yeah, they're pretty easy to figure out. But I absolutely love like it seems like there's like this Hindu kind of like inspiration from it. Yeah, like this Hindu god kind of deal, and he's like holding up like the path of destruction. Like there's all these different levels of destruction, and these are all like different parts of destruction. Like one of them is actually the symbol for war for the Romans. So I thought that was cool because that's from the god of wars here. That's how I know that symbol. And then you know, you got like other ones that kind of mean like chaos or, you know, undeserving, and like there's a lot of cool stuff here. But if we can go into the album itself, though, I want to talk about the opening track of Masochist. How did y'all start? This is absolutely y'all's best performing song on this album, I think, at least. Tell me what was this one and Prisoner are probably my favorite songs on this album.
I've got
Tell me a little bit. Too. Yeah, let's say. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about like because me and Huxley. Spoiler for next week for our listeners. We're doing our top 5 opening tracks for albums. We're going to be doing that one next week. Yeah. Speaking of that, how do y'all pick a song that's like, this is a song we need to open up our album with, or this is a song that we need to open up our concerts with? How do y'all go about doing that? Like, what kind of themes y'all put into that?
I think it was the fact that it got pretty much straight into it, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's hard to remember like what our thought process to put that album back like together was. Like that album went from being a 10 track to a 12 track to a 14 track back to a 10 track to no, we should just do 8 tracks and do the rest as an EP, or we should. And in the end, after discussing it at great length, we just went, okay, we'll just do them all. So like it was never supposed to be a 14 track album. We kind of went and did a big recording session with the intention of whittling it down to like 10 or whatever. And then
we had 30 demos.
We had a lot of demos, didn't we?
Putting in the word.
I couldn't even tell you where those demos are. No. Yeah, and then so we eventually said, right, we'll go and record these 14 properly, full quality, and then we'll whittle that down to an album. And then after discussing it and kind of disagreeing and changing our minds, we just went, should we just stick them all on there? Because we'll never put it out otherwise.
Might as well, right? We already have them here. We're already here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, with Masochist, I think it was like, it's got that kind of like little fade-in intro.
It's a really good intro.
Yeah.
It's quite punchy, like straight from the get-go. So it kind of encapsulates everything that we were about at that time. You know, we've got tracks on there that are a lot softer, a lot like more chill, like A Better Man, for example. And then we've got like OD on there, which is just balls to the wall deathcore.
Oh yeah, it's so good. I love how y'all can switch between those two as well. Y'all can go like this new metal and then go straight to deathcore. Like the next song is just absolutely flawless how y'all do that.
Thanks, man. I think that kind of owes a lot to the range of different influences that we have. You know, we all listen to very different music, but it all kind of fits together really well.
Yeah,
I think.
Yeah, it says that some of y'all's influences are like Wage War and whatnot. So Wage War is actually from my town.
Okay,
and
cool.
So they're from my neck of the woods. So it's really cool to see y'all guys have an influence from my side of town. What are some like other influences that y'all have that are not Wage War?
So for me, like I listen to all sorts. I listen to a lot of country music. I listen to a lot of like rap, hip hop.
That's Huxley right there. You just described Huxley.
All sorts of stuff, really. So, it's difficult to say which elements of that make it into our music and which don't. I guess all of it in some form. Luke, you're very much the deathcore guy, right?
Yeah. So look, I mean, similar to Joe, I like all sorts of stuff. I'm pretty easygoing with most stuff, but yeah, I really love deathcore. The heavier, the better.
Yeah.
But then Jason, who likes rap, I also really like rap. I try and get some nice flows going in some stuff when I'm writing. But yeah, I definitely like heavier stuff. 9 times out of 10, that's what I'll go for.
Hates country music, right?
It's just not for me, man. Nah.
It's just not for me either. I get you, Luke. I get you. I'm right on there. I'm right there with you, man.
Don't lie.
I like Luke Combs. Luke Combs is probably Luke Combs is probably the only country artist that I really adore because he brings back like that grit that country had back in the 90s.
Yeah.
And because all this other 90s country is probably my favorite country that I've always, listened to. So don't get me wrong. Like for right now, country nowadays, besides Luke Combs, I just don't like, because I'm with Luke on this one. The heavier, the better, man. Give me those breakdowns. Give me those blast beats. Give me those screams. I want to hear like Alex Terrible kind of stuff. That's the stuff that I'm looking for and whatnot.
Yeah.
Huxley, you got anything for these guys? While I look up some other information here real quick.
You literally threw yourself into my question book because I was about to say
a little
piece on influences. So thanks about
that. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was clearly going to make reference to you guys are from the home of heavy metal, right? Because obviously, like I've got like Black Sabbath and Ozzy tattoos all over my body, and I've got to visit the bridge and everything. It's just I absolutely love Birmingham. It's such a, for me anyway, it's kind of like a nerd out spiritual home, and I just wondered if you guys did consider Black Sabbath as a big influence.
So Luke's not from Birmingham, is he? You're an outsider. Well, we're all a bit.
You're an outsider.
Don't kill my dream.
We still very much consider ourselves a Birmingham band, but only 2 of us now are actually from Birmingham, and the other 2 are from the other side of the country. So, but yeah, like for me, and you're gonna kill me for saying this. I never really cared for Black Sabbath or Ozzy growing up.
Oh no! You broke Huxley's heart.
The founding fathers mean nothing.
I've grown to appreciate it more the older that I've got, in all honesty. But yeah, I don't know what it was. It was something. It never really clicked for me when I was growing up. But I think that was because all I got shown was like Paranoid. Oh, this is, and it was like
Crazy Train.
It was kind of shoved down your throat. That's what it was. But then really like some of the other stuff, like Into the Void, songs like that, War Pigs and whatever. A lot more appreciation for those sorts of things these days. So I'm sorry to rain on your parade there.
It's fine.
It rains on its parade every day. It's the UK.
yeah, that is very true. Yeah. I think I was very lucky because my dad used to be a singer in a band as well, and he pretty much like from the ground up built my entire love of music because he was just like an old biker style rock and metal guy. So bands like Saxon and, you know, Thin Lizzy were all his favourites, and Black Sabbath and Michael Schenker, all of those kind of the old school type thing. So that's sort of where my music taste and that got built up.
I did get to meet Tony Iommi once, and
oh, that's cool.
Friend of mine is related to Geezer Butler as well in some capacity. I'm not entirely sure how.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of
that's enough. That makes me happy.
Just like that, you got him back again.
That's it. Yeah, pulled me right round. So I was just going to ask, like, you've referenced you being like a DIY band quite a few times. So is the current setup like it is? You've no management, or, you know, obviously, are you putting things out independently, and is that likely to change again? Unless there's things happening in the background, you know, we're not asking for the gossip and stuff, but, you know.
Yeah, no, we recently took on a manager, Marianne, through Down for Life Music. That was following a tour that we did last year, which was like the Down for Life Music New Blood tour. Marianne had a massive hand in setting all of that up, and like, I've known Marianne for years. She's always been like a big name on the UK scene, and we've kind of worked with a couple of managers in the past, sort of briefly, but we've always kind of done a lot of things ourselves. So it's always been a bit like, do we need a manager? Do we not need a manager? And the more we've got older and taken on more life responsibilities, the more it's become clear that yes, we do need a manager, because we're not very good at pulling our finger out and getting stuff done. But yeah, in terms of releases, everything we do is like self-released. We don't have a label. We don't have a booking agent. We would like them, but we don't have them yet. So we kind of we're still working towards that. But yeah, with that tour that we did last year and hanging out with Marianne a bit, I think we kind of got the vibe straight away that she kind of just understood where we were coming from as a band and what our needs were and what our goals were for the future, and that she could help hopefully whip us into shape to achieve some of those where we haven't possibly been able to knuckle down and get on with things the way we'd like to up until now.
Yeah, but I was laughing at the one post on your Instagram where you posted on Thread saying, "Oh yeah, another social media for us to forget to update." That was
and now we've got Blue Sky as well, which I think I might post. Yeah.
What would y'all say that like your favorite show that y'all have done so far? Like, what's the most memorable one that y'all have done so far, or with like a band that you met, or a band that you played for, or just something that means a lot to you? What was like one of y'all's favorite shows that you've done together?
I think it'd have to be Bloodstock for me. But at the same time, if I could go back and do it again, but better, I would.
Oh, you mean the gig? The actual gig? Yeah. Why did it not go too well?
No, it was fine. It was just like, so we got like the footage back for it, and when we were watching it, I was just watching it and taking in the stuff that I was doing and thinking like, oh, I could do that differently, or I'd do that better.
Right.
But yeah, it was our first time playing a stage that big.
Yeah.
So I think watching it back, me personally, I could tell that it was quite an inexperienced person doing it, watching myself. And I think the other guys felt the same about themselves as well.
Yeah, we learned a lot from that as well. Like, it was an incredible experience, and we didn't expect to be asked to play. So it was awesome to do that. But yeah, we kind of went in with half a setup, you know, that we've been using for smaller shows. That's kind of worked for those shows, but didn't really translate for a bigger stage like that.
Yeah.
In terms of our in-ear monitoring and how we run a sound check and things like that. So there was like definite teething issues going into the show, you know, where like the sound check didn't quite give us everything we really needed before we got started and things like that. And it kind of made us go, right, we need to really up our game if we want to get onto shows like that. So I'm really grateful that it kind of didn't go the way that we'd hoped. Like, the show was great and the reception from the crowd was great. Like, I wouldn't change anything about that. But yeah, even just things that, like, down to things like, you know, the detail between like the gaps between our songs and how we're getting feedback into our ears and things like that. It was a really good learning curve, and I think we've been able to make a lot of good changes since then, which has just improved our live show so much. So we'd really hope we can just take that back to festivals and sort of do it 10 times better than we did before.
Did it give you
other than that,
a taster for where you'd like to be moving into those?
Sure.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think for me that we had the opportunity like around Birmingham to do some pretty decent support slots for bands like Make Them Suffer, After the
Make
Burial.
Them Suffer are really good. I really like those guys too.
Yeah. And like where we supported them is a venue called the Asylum in Birmingham, and there's 2 rooms. There's the main room. I'm not sure what the capacity is, but it's like a big, proper venue room. They have a club night in there and everything. And then there's like a smaller upstairs room. So when we supported them, they were headlining the upstairs room, and they're coming back in May and doing the big room. And it's like to see that growth, like in their audience over here, it's definitely what they deserve. So I think we were talking about that just before coming on here. Actually, that we're all going to probably go to that show.
Yeah, not supporting them yet.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Is there a band that y'all like want to support? Like y'all, it's like a dream for y'all to support this band. Is there like a big influence name that y'all would like to play for?
There's a few, I think. Luke, what do you reckon?
There is a few. The obvious one would be Wage War. That's the obvious one. Get that out of the way. But also like Moth to Flames. I think they're
another great band.
Yeah, they're so good. And Currents as well. I think they're just awesome.
Yeah, there's so many. Like I'm sitting here thinking while Luke's talking, I'm like, I'm there.
For about 20 minutes and name just every band I listen to.
Yeah.
Just all of them.
I can just send you my Spotify and be like any of these bands, any of those bands. Like it'd be great.
Yeah.
See, I got.
I think are you supporting? Is it Heart of a Coward that you're supporting as well coming up? Is that later this summer?
Yeah. So we did a show supporting them on their tour last year, no, the year before, October in 23. So when they came around, they were on tour with The City Is Ours. So we did the Birmingham show for that, and then they're playing Modern Era Festival in March in London. So we're on that festival with those guys. And Ocean's 8 Alaska, I think, are the other headliner on that. Can't remember which day we're on now, actually. I think we're on the same day with Ocean's 8 Alaska.
We're on Sunday with Ocean's 8 Alaska.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But we've never played with those guys, actually. So that'll be a good show.
Yeah, it says that y'all are playing in the Modern Era Fest this coming up March.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So that's that kind of came out of the blue. Actually, it's a brand new festival in the UK. So it's the first year of the festival.
It's going to be in London. Huxley, I know that's a 5-hour drive for you. I know you won't be able to make it.
Get up on a train.
Yeah, it's we kind of just got an email one day from Jason, who's the guy that set it up. Just like, putting on this new festival, would love to have you on it. We were like, 100%. Yeah, like
wow.
Obviously mentioned some of the other bands that he was approaching for it. I think he'd confirmed Heart of a Coward at the time, and we were like, yeah, that's a no-brainer. So it was a very quick conversation to get that one booked in. So we're looking forward to that. I think we've not done like a central London show for quite some time. I think before Luke was in the band, we played at the Black Heart in Camden. Other than that, we've done a couple of shows, but they've been sort of outside the centre of London. So it'd be nice to sort of do a central London show.
And is that where you're from, Luke? And I mentioned that you were from the.
No, I'm from. So I'm from like the East Midlands.
Okay. It's
near Peterborough, if you know where Peterborough is.
Yeah.
He just sounds like he's from London.
Yeah.
You all sound like you're from London to me.
Oh, sure.
I'm the only American guy here. I feel outnumbered. Finally, Huxley gets his wish.
only taken a year and a half, or however long.
Yeah, I know it's only taken a little while.
Yeah.
So,
well,
are there any other like?
Leeds on tour.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's all.
Oh yeah, Leeds. Yeah, make sure you go to Leeds.
On tour. Yeah, we've got the lovely Key Club here as well. That's
we play. Where did we play in Leeds? So in October.
It was at Boom.
Boom, which is now closing down, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's a shame. Yeah, we played there in October on that Down for Life New Blood tour.
Yeah, Huxley was sad that he missed that date.
I am.
He was, yeah. Are there any other like tour dates that are coming up for you want our listeners or your listeners to know about?
We've announced the Sanctum Festival, which is in Birmingham as well, for July. And there will be an announcement next week, which I won't say anything about yet.
Okay.
That would be a spoiler.
Yeah. We don't want heavy spoilers. We just want some light spoilers.
Yeah, we've got a few things in the diary. We just haven't announced them all just yet.
And we can't wait to hear more, man. I can't wait to hear the next album that comes out. Obviously, I think the Tyrants is going to be on there as well as some other songs. Y'all, you don't have to get spoilers if you don't want to, but there are like songs you already have like in the books ready to write and produce for a new album.
Yeah, how many now?
That are ready.
That are ready. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
At least 4.
At least 4. Okay, so we at least got 4 songs that are ready to go. And I'm sure that y'all guys will have no problem writing songs. Or it seems like this creative flow just comes right out of you guys, and it's absolutely amazing to watch y'all grow. Because I remember when I first found you guys, y'all guys had like 10,000 monthly listeners. Y'all guys are at almost 12K now. And it's so cool that it's been within like a month and a half. Y'all have already got 2,000 more listeners on Spotify. And that's just Spotify numbers. We're talking about like YouTube numbers. We're talking about Apple Music numbers. And how do y'all see yourselves in like, say, a year, 2 to 5 years of like progressing as a band? Is there anything that y'all want to accomplish as a band in the next few years?
Yeah, I think we've definitely got some goals. I don't know, Luke, whether you want to talk about any of those, any of your goals.
Yeah, so I think in the next 5 years, I would really love it if we could start doing some European shows or tours.
I would love for y'all to come over here.
We would love that as well, yeah.
You need to come over here.
What?
Yeah, we've got 3 festival shows I've just told us about. Come on.
That's true.
Yeah, we started talking with another band. I won't say who, but we started talking with another band from Europe. It's still very early days, but trying to sort something between us.
That'd be awesome.
I would love to see y'all headline a show. That's what I really want to see, you guys, because I think y'all have the absolute potential to do it. The sound that I hear from these albums is nothing short but greatness. This is such great music. And when I saw y'all's numbers were that low, I was like, no, these guys need like hundreds of thousands of monthly listeners. These guys need way more. I absolutely praise y'all guys for all that y'all guys do and whatnot. Huxley, do you have anything else for them? Is there anything that we want to talk about?
Yeah, just whether or not it's kind of a good or bad. This is a discussion piece, really. But obviously, quite a lot of bands and Sleep Token's the one to come to my mind, obviously, which Keith will say. In terms of getting
what a sellout.
In terms of like getting that viral moment where I don't know, TikTok, Instagram, or whatever just absolutely blows up because either just a tiny part of one of your songs or more of the song in general just gets blown up and goes worldwide. Is that anything that you've thought about, considered?
It's a really strange like game, isn't it? The viral video game.
It's odd. Yeah.
It's not something we've ever gone right. We need to, we probably do need to get a viral video. We'd love that to happen, but we're not like actively putting out content the way that a lot of people do, content creators these days, like all the time. Because for one, I don't think any of us have got to sit and like put all that content together. And I don't think any of us are that way inclined to want to like jump on camera that often and like make fools of ourselves. So, you know, we put up a video from the tour. I literally posted it the morning after the show. In fact, it was the show at Boom in Leeds. The sound engineer, you might have seen it on Instagram. The sound engineer was adding like snare bombs to our live mix, and kind of Rowan, our drummer, obviously caught note of it and was looking up and was like, you could see him encouraging the sound guy to keep doing it. And at one point he stopped and then he was like, yeah, come on, like keep going. And I just kind of like zoomed in on Rowan for this whole interaction and just put a little stupid video together and posted it. And that just blew up out of nowhere. And like, I still get notifications now of like, someone's liked your reel, someone's liked your reel, someone's followed you from your reel. So like, that was nothing. That, you know, I stuck my phone at the back of the room, recorded our set, and it just happened to clock that little section and went, that's quite funny, I'll post that. And like, for some reason that resonated with enough people, or the algorithm, for it to just continue.
All hail the algorithm.
Strange, isn't it? Like
strange thing, isn't it?
The most
when I think, go ahead.
Things can just pop off. It's, you know, like like if you'd have put together an actual, you know, like sweeping shot of you guys all on stage and made it all, you know, put a lot of time and effort in, it'd probably got half as many views. But something,
and like that's what we found. Like I spent a long time before Tyrants kind of cutting out bits of that video. Like that's one of the coolest videos we've done, Tyrants, and like
it is a great video.
Yeah, we're really pleased with how that one turned out. And like, I spent a lot of time like cutting sections out to post as reels, thinking we need to use this footage and keep using it to promote the song. That's kind of like the way to do it these days.
And
like, you get a handful of likes and views and stuff on those. And then literally something that I recorded on my phone and posted from our drummer's living room in the morning, you know, while I was still wearing the clothes from the night before. Just blew up on the internet. So okay, we won't try, and then apparently that's what works.
I know. We've found it hard as well, haven't we, Keith? We've only been doing this since like we've just been
October
doing it for
23
in October, and it's like, you know, we've like sat here and spoke, and God, I don't even think how many hours in total, and been like coming up with ideas, and we've tried to throw like funny
they just keep flowing too,
and you know, 3 views, 5 views or something. And then it was only like last week where we did a reaction video to the new Electric Callboy song.
Okay,
that just like popped off.
Blew up out of nowhere.
4,500 views. And we're like, God, you've spent over a year doing this podcast type of creation. And people want to just watch a 7-minute video where we're just dancing around like idiots.
Absolutely love it.
Strange world.
I do see this Instagram post, which I do follow y'all guys on Instagram, and I love y'all's Instagram and whatnot. The one that I found really funny was the one of where y'all talking about having Mackie D's 7 days straight, or whatever y'all released it. What was it, 3 days ago? And it's like this little gremlin guy crawling on the ground. Oh my God, where do y'all get these ideas from, man?
I think I was just scrolling TikTok, and like it that little whatever it is, Gollum or whoever it is, just like popped up as a green screen like video to use, and I was like, I reckon I've got a few ideas of what that could mean, and who knows? Something going on in our brains.
Y'all guys have some interesting brains, but y'all guys are geniuses in other ways when y'all comes to like making music and writing music and singing it. There is a question I do have about y'all's vocals, actually, that has been bothering me this whole time. How do y'all guys go about which sections need to be screamed or sung? Because I know there's a harsh vocals, clean vocals. How do y'all manage that?
It's not just the going back and forth, like we said about earlier. It'll be like I could say for Tyrants, for example, when we first wrote Tyrants, I had the choruses just screaming, and then I think it was when we were in the studio, Joe, that you just threw some cleans over it. And
demoed it at some point, and then sort of in the studio said, well, we'll record them anyway, and if we want them, we'll have them. If we don't want them, we won't use them.
Because that song starts out real hard, man.
Yeah. It's something like, in some of the more recent tracks, you'll probably notice there's a lot more during choruses of it's like Luke and I singing and screaming at the same time. And like it kind of, I guess, just comes with the evolution of writing and working together. And Luke, we already know, is an incredible screaming vocalist. And then I think I'd had an idea for something. I thought this would sound really cool if it was like higher pitched and maybe a bit like more gritty, a bit more, on the screaming side. I was like, I don't want to sing that high because I'm just going to blow my voice out. And Luke's probably not going to scream that high. Sorry, my dogs have just started barking or something. But I think in the end we were, I wonder if you can try that pitched scream thing. And like, it's something I don't think Luke had ever done before. And we're like, yeah, I'll give it a go. And of course, nailed it first time. So we're like, okay, that's something that we can start working in. So we managed to kind of get that element where I'm singing something and then Luke's kind of screaming it and following the pitch at the same time. And that's worked really well for a few things. I think a lot of things, like we seem to write quite well together as well. I mentioned earlier that sometimes like Luke might write a song and he'll just leave the chorus out because he knows it's going to be a clean chorus, and he might have a few ideas for some lyrics, or he might just leave it completely blank. There's been occasions where I've picked up what Luke's written and gone, okay, I get the vibe, I get what he's coming from, and I've got a few ideas for a melody or a hook or something that I feel like I can sing over this, and then kind of like craft the words to fit around what Luke's written. So I think a lot of the time it's hardly even a conversation anymore. It's just like, oh yeah, I've left a gap there because I think there needs to be screaming, or I've left a gap there because I think it'll sound good with some singing, or whatever. So I think it's I don't know if it's more natural now or less natural. Like we don't write so much in the same room anymore. Like when we first started out and we were like a Birmingham-based band, we had a lock-up here in Birmingham and we were all from here. So we get together weekly or whatever and write. Nowadays, with us obviously having a lot more going on in life and being spread around the country, we tend to write a lot more remotely. So I don't know whether that leans into it more or not, but we just tend to sort of know where, okay, yeah, I can hear a scream landing there instead of a sang bit or whatever.
Yeah. Interesting, is that? Working from home.
You got anything else, Huxley, for these fine gentlemen?
I was going to ask you as well, Keith. While I've been listening, like pretty much all of this week, I've just been writing bands down that I've kind of thought, that reminds me a little bit of this.
Oh, gotcha. Me too.
Whether or not they're influences or whatever, but I was just going to throw a few bands in for ones that we've not already mentioned for, just like bands that I'd thought of. So, I'll ignore the Wage War. While She Sleeps was one. Just those. Oh, yeah, that was definitely just with some of the guitar work as well and the screaming as well. Reminded me
even
of
I Prevail is another one too. I think that would be definitely a big. I can definitely hear a lot of I Prevail in y'all's like music and influence because y'all got the clean and the scream, but y'all both collab within the choruses. Y'all make it work. I used to, and honestly, this is nothing against you guys. I used to think like having two singers in a band, having a screamer and a singer, was like a gimmick kind of deal. But then I listened to I Prevail and I really got into their music when we did our top 5 for them and absolutely fell in love with that whole genre of having two different singers and the uniqueness you can have between the two. And like, you can have like this soulful, clean singing mixed with this growl that's going in the background. And it just amplifies the song tenfold. And I really do love that. Any other bands, Huxley?
I had Architects.
Architects, love them.
Trivium in some. I think
Trivium. It's the guitar and the drums for me for the Trivium.
Yeah.
I think that is really cool. Yeah. Your drummer's amazing. I love him.
Yeah.
He's such a good drummer.
Yeah, I think Luke, guitar player, was very heavily influenced, like back in the early 2000s by like Butterfly Valentine, Trivium, those sorts of things.
Mm.
I think he actually went to see them both last night.
Oh, did they? Right. Yeah,
they played that tour, didn't they? So that was last night. So I think bits of that creep in, but obviously he's a big sort of metalcore, deathcore head as well. So every now and again, I don't think you can quite ever get away from like wanting to add a harmonic guitar part here or there, so that's probably where that comes from.
Yeah, and also Kill Switch Engage as well. I did write down.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because the guitar sounds. Yeah, no, I get that. I didn't even think about that one. That was a good pick, man. There were some like other ones that I had on here. I got some Rage Against the Machine vibes from y'all too. Just the tonality, the half steps that y'all do, kind of like the message that y'all are giving. Not really political or anything like that, but y'all are sending like a positive message through like heavy music. And I feel like no one really talks about that these days, where everyone just thinks music or the metal music is just screamy, roar, I'm angry at my dad music, when there's such positive messages in that song. My question to y'all guys for that is like, do y'all continue to want to be a positivity metal band and spread positive influence with your band?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, lyrically, it really, like I said earlier, it just depends on how I'm feeling in that moment and what I feel feels natural, what the song's calling for. But yeah, I do like the positivity. I know Joe really does as well. But yeah, sometimes I just want to write something that's just angry.
Oh yeah, do it. I love it. Keep going, man.
Kind of going back to that whole thing about where we can kind of move from softer music to, that to me, that's like the beauty of metalcore, or at least kind of like today's metalcore, is that you can kind of fit into those categories and no one really questions it. You kind of expect some ridiculously heavy, angry bangers. They're all human emotions at the end of the day, and like we, for the most part, we do tackle some fairly difficult subjects through the lyrics.
I praise you for it.
But we do also try and make sure that we kind of show the bit of positivity, or I know like in some of the lyrics that Luke's written, they're about kind of like his former self and like things that he's struggled with in the past, but kind of showing that, look, things have improved since then, and it's kind of like a reflection on that sort of past version of himself, and kind of showing you can make those positive changes and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely something that I think we kind of do it without really thinking. So I don't think we necessarily sit and think, right, we're going to write a bunch of positive songs. I just think it's kind of like our outlook. And then on the other side of that, every now and again, we might just be really pissed off about something and write an angry song.
Just write a song about it. And I say this all the time. Like, I praise you guys, like they're able to write how you feel, because that's hard for me to write a song about how I feel for the day or how this makes me feel. And to be able to do that is such a genius way to handle emotions and handle something that's been given to you. And y'all guys do such a great job at that. Is there any message? Is there any messages that you want to give to your audience because I think we're coming up on over an hour now. So, is there any final thoughts you want to give our audience or whatnot, or where they can find you and whatnot?
I guess in terms of like, the general message, and I guess kind of going back to some of the things we talk about in our lyrics is, we've kind of mentioned through songs before about feelings of being lonely or feeling alone in certain situations, and we talk a lot about mental health and stuff for our lyrics and stuff like that. It's something that we've all kind of dealt with in some capacity at some point in our lives, and most of the people that we know have in some way. So I guess that's probably why that's landed into our lyrics as much as it has. And yeah, like we've kind of said to people in the past as well, like if you're looking to reach out to someone, you don't know who to reach out to, message the band page because we'll probably get back to you. Like we
y'all did for me, and that was
nice.
wonderful. That was such a positive moment for me, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, like it's something that we actively try and do. Like, you know, I imagine for like bigger bands, like the bigger they get, the more messages they start getting, and it's probably really hard to keep on track on top of those sorts of things. But it's something that like we don't get people reaching out to us all the time, but like every now and again, somebody might message and say, "Oh, I'm a really big fan of this song. It's, you know, helped me through this, that, and the other," and that means the world to us. So like we want to kind of give back as much as we can, and just try and spread that positivity. So yeah, that's kind of the message, I guess, is just, you know, never feel like you have to go through anything alone or anything like that. And if you don't know where to turn, message Overthrone's Instagram. Somebody will get back to you. Hopefully.
Luke, you got anything for your audience?
Other than what Joe said, really, I don't think so. No, just more of the same. Yeah, if you're ever struggling with anything, don't do it alone. Chances are you know someone that's struggling just as bad, if not worse. So reach out to each other.
All right. There, y'all socials. Where can people reach you at?
We're on everything. Unfortunately, we're creating new accounts.
Us too. We know how you feel.
every month it seems. I think the easiest way, if you want to find us, overthrone.co.uk, and there's links on there to our YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, X.
We'll make sure to leave the links for that in the Spotify as well, and our YouTube pages, so people can find you as well. Other than that, man, y'all guys have been fucking wonderful guests today. Y'all guys have been fucking awesome. It was so cool to meet you guys. I fangirled a little bit, Sorry about that. I get a little overexcited. I'm just really happy to meet you guys and really happy to do this. But with that said, Huxley, can you give everyone else our socials before we end the episode?
Gladly, yes. You can find us, you can email us at wavesacrosspod@gmail.com. You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, because we refuse to call it X, at Waves Across Pod. We do have a new Facebook group now, which is Waves Across the Water, so please come and jump in there. And we're recording in our Discord here, so please come and jump in here and chat with us through about all the fun episodes. And we've got plans for extending the YouTube channel as well. That's another thing. You need to go and drop us a like and subscribe on there, and this video from today will also be uploaded on there, so go check that out.
All right, well, with that said, y'all guys be good to each other, and remember, go listen to Overthrown. They're fucking great, and that's about it. Peace.
Thanks.
Bye, guys. Bye, guys.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much for having us.
All right,
Speak to you again soon.